Hey YouTube, welcome to Beyond the Hype, where we look at Pokemon with new moves or buff moves to see just how strong they are or weak they are, give you an honest opinion as opposed to just hyping them up. This video will be about Togetic, so I'll spend about 8% of the time talking about Togetic, but I really need to talk about Sableye with this foul play, because it substantially changes how you play with it. But again, we're going to focus on Togetic, because it is now the number 15 ranked Pokemon on PvPoke with a Psyshock and Dazzling Gleam buff. So this Pokemon, as the title probably says, I'm more confused after playing with it than I was just looking at the rankings. So the stat product in itself is like good. 110 attack, almost 50 defense, 122 stamina. So when you have like the nice combo there with the 2000, overall you're a Pokemon that can definitely take some charge moves, but not like crazy like Azumarill or Clodsire or anything like that. The typing, before we get to the moveset here, the typing is a weird one too, because you resist it. I think it's a net positive overall, because you double resist ground, double resist fighting, double resist dragon, double resist bug, and then single resist grass and dark. And it's been a ground dominated meta for the last couple seasons. You got some fighters out there, so double resisting those. You got some darks to answer all the ghosts that are going to be out there as well. So I think it's solid from that perspective. However, you also have 5 weaknesses. And electric, ice, poison, rock, and steel, which there's now like obviously a ton of poison, and then some electric got buffed, and then rock is still out there, even though rock rollout got buffed. So it's kind of a weird one. It's really kind of hit and miss, and maybe that's why I felt like it was a bit like I'm still undecided. Fairy Wind, Psyshock, Dazzling Gleam. Now when I did the initial analysis, I said this Pokemon is gonna be very good because you have the lowered Dazzling Gleam, which does 108 damage, so almost 2 damage per energy, and because you have a fast Fairy Wind at 4.5 energy, being able to spam this, you're basically just gonna be able to take out Pokemon in 2 Dazzling Gleams. And for the most part, that was true. Where I think I like almost underestimated was the Psyshock, or at times overestimated. This is why I'm so confused about this Pokemon. So you're gonna see some battles where I go like double Dazzling Gleam, like Lapras, you need to go double Dazzling Gleam. And then other Pokemon, I was able to go one Psyshock first and then a Dazzling Gleam. So the pacing is good, but with the no fast move pressure, you really need to land those. And at the same time, you can take some moves, but not a ton of moves. So if you're going to go against a Pokemon that's just going to outpace you, like again, something like Feraligatr that's just going to land the Hydros before, if you just try and go straight Dazzling Gleam, you're going to lose that matchup. So it's somewhat bait dependent. So this is why I'm like very still on the fence about this Pokemon. I really do not know. Maybe like, again, looking back at the battles after may help me out here. So let's take a look at the battles, because I remember some of it in action. So good lead here, right? Because they are grass, Feraligatr right at the bat, right? And this is what I'm talking about immediately. I'm trying to get to the Dazzling Gleam, and I can't. I can take one Hydro for sure. I know that. But I can't take a second. So I eventually get into Gastrodon there. I could have chipped with the Dazzling Gleam. I don't think Dazzling Gleam takes out a non-shadow Feraligatr. So I farmed up a bit. Just going to take this out with the Earth Power because Body Slam and non-stab, I just don't think is going to be good enough here. So I'm going to take it out. I know I'm going to be taken down here very quick, which is okay. And I have some moves here, so I'm just going to go straight Psyshock. And they catch on the Morpeko, so nice catch. And this is what I'm talking about. You are weak to electric. And you're going to get outpaced to the Dazzling Gleam here. So I have to shield basically bait moves and aura wheels, because the Thunder Shocks are adding up, and then Sableye is just a bad matchup in the back. And the Fairy Wind, yes, it is fairy, and I'm chipping a bit here, but it's still just an energy generating move. And so when this is what again, people know my preferences for fast charging fast moves. Fast charging for charge moves. And it's not even like 14 and 12 is bad pacing, but when there's so many things in the meta that paces at a rate of 10, 8, 10, 12 in this meta now, it just felt like a lot of times I was just getting outpaced. And this is where I think it's going to become a little Psyshock dependent. Now, Psyshock also got a buff, and being able to spam those at a rate of 10-8, 10-8 is pretty good. So I got the Dazzling Gleam off there. I know it has Dynamic Punch and something else. Shadow Ball. So again, you can live one move for the most points, most cases against everyone. And then have to go for a bait Psyshock here. So, and I think I get a second one off here. Yeah, so what I think about this Pokemon, the best way to think about the let's just do a couple more battles and then I'll talk about what I think the best way to play this Pokemon is and the strengths and the weaknesses of it. So I came in Sableye. You notice I'm using a Purified Sableye to start with, and then I moved to the Shadow Sableye. And I always say if you're going to use Sableye as a lead, as a safe swap, use the Purified because return is better and you have better coverage. And then this happened. The foul plays. The foul plays is essentially lower energy, lower damage. I feel it's a nerf to Sableye in particular. So what I found when I was using we're going to go into Sableye here and then we'll go back to Togetic. What I found with the Sableye was previously with the harder hitting foul play, if you had a Purified Sableye, it would take Shadow Claw, foul play, Shadow Claw, foul play. And what made the Shadow better is that you can go Shadow Claw, foul play, Shadow Claw. You can't do that anymore for either of those. At times now, it is now taking the Purified, 2 foul plays, sometimes a third or 2 with more claws. And sometimes now, the Shadow Claw, foul play, Shadow Claw on the Shadow Sableye is not taken out either. So Dazzling Gleam is a fantastic move for Sableye, but I think that foul play is a significant lowering for Sableye, in my opinion. Okay, so I had a good lead there. They eventually get into Drapion. Drapion's still extremely strong. I saw a few of them. Still paces at a 10. So I'm going to try and commit to the farm down here, but they're going to just outpace me because they had 1 advantage and that's all they need. So landing the second crunch, so I have to shield. I know I have an Earth Power here, which means I could take this out. I just want to align, right? Because Pangoro has absolutely nothing for Togetic. So I will ensure alignment here. Land the Earth Power, so they're just probably going to go 1 shield, whatever's in the back. And I was like, okay, I was kind of reading like maybe double weak to ground here. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily say ever save this. And I kind of regret saving it now because it's not, I did not read properly. It's a Glycopod. But because I chip with Body Slam, I can now just go straight Psyshock. And this is where, again, the strengths of this 10-8, 10-8 pacing comes in. Because you can put some shield pressure on with these Psyshocks. It's not a great non-stab move, but it can do the job. Especially with the pacing here. So I really like it from that perspective. Grabbing the second shield. They're going to time it perfectly here. And catch. Nice catch. I knew they were going to time it. I thought they were going to time it for CMP, but they timed it to catch it, which is almost worse. So I come in here with Sableye. And again, you think the pacing here would be great, but not when they're loaded. And Aqua Jet, basically takes out Sableye in 2 moves here. So Aqua Jet, a pretty nice move here. And basically, this is resisted. I thought I could take it down there. I can't. We end up tying here, which is unfortunate. So I think that after this matchup, I was like, man, if Shadow Claw just had that extra umph, I probably would have had a chance there. So I switched to Shadow. Grimer comes out, and I expected the like Mud Slap or Ground, but it had a poison, which is a poison Pokemon. So that's maybe I'm just thinking about the other one. So Dazzling Gleam is a huge improvement on Sableye. It is a great coverage move. It really chips, and the pacing to 14 is decent. Especially when you have a pacing to move 10 that you can like bait. So I really like it here. Unfortunately, I think I am just going to get outpaced here. But able to grab a couple shields and then align on Gastrodon in the back is all I'm doing. Okay, so they let it go. Oh yeah, it's a triple poison team. I remember this team. So it's a triple poison dark team. Or poison dark team. Get off another one here. And I'm coming in Togetic. And why am I coming in this Pokemon? Because I know that the moveset is Flamethrower and Trailblaze. And I do not want to come in Gastrodon to take a Trailblaze. So I come in here. They eventually get out into Drapion. I do get off a Dazzling Gleam. Again, good chip. Really good chip. Drapion's a little glassy. But now with alignment and having a bit of energy here, I can now take this out there. So Fun team, but yeah, in a ground meta, oof, that's rough. That's a rough team to run. Greninja. And this is again a perfect example of like against other Pokemon, pacing is going to be an issue. Psyshock is resisted. Fairy Wind, super effective. Hydro Cannons are neutral, and so is the Water Shuriken. I could probably live one, but it would be close. Come in Sableye here because of the pacing here. Shadow Claws single resisted. Confusions double resisted. Foul Plays are super effective. But again, Shadow Foul Play, when you're in the mindset that this is should for sure one shot, and you're left with significant that you can't single resist Claw down. Man, the Foul Play feels like a real nerf on Sableye. But the Dazzling Gleam feels like a huge improvement on Sableye. So maybe it's net neutral. That's why it's ranked higher. Plus, again, it's ranked higher because there's so many ghosts too, right? And dark. So you have Shadow Claw, Foul Play for the ghost, and Dazzling Gleam for the darks. And you resist poison. So I think there's a lot of reasons why Sableye is ranked so high. But I'm pretty sure they shield this, and that leads me back to the exact same scenario of like, when you go Dazzling Gleam here, there's a lot of Pokemon that are just going to outpace in the even shield scenario, which could cause you problems because a lot of times, I mean, Dazzling Gleam would take out here, but a lot of times Dazzling Gleam will definitely not take out bulkier Pokemon. So you're going to need to like land Dazzling Gleam and hope Psyshock is enough, or a lot of times you're just going to be outpaced as a lot of these Pokemon get to moves in 12. Like this is a perfect example. This one gets to Sparkling Aria in 12, I believe. So it gets to the Dazzling Gleam first. I'm going right away because I'm like, Lapras is super tanky. I want to see how much it can take. Again, it's in the yellow, barely. I'm shielding because it has Ice Beam too, so I got to watch out for that. So I do shield up an Ice Beam. That's great. But again, for something that's a bulky Pokemon, and I know that Psywave is a nice move, but for what is supposed to be like a bulkier Pokemon, I'm down to the yellow here with just Psywaves. So now I'm even worried about Sparkling Aria taking me out. I think they even outpace here. Yeah, right? So there's your super effective Ice Beam just outpacing. So I come in here, try and claw down, and I can't. This is why Lapras is so tough. And that move chips so hard. And out comes a Wiggly. So again, I'm going to chip here. I just want to see how this move chips in a neutral situation. And to the yellow, like, you take that. And now I can get in here and get to the Body Slam, which can maybe take this out. If not, I'm going to have to shield because the Sableye is basically wiped out here. But they let it go, and now it's a Marowak. And now I'm just going to get outpaced because they pace at the same place. They pace at the same of Body Slam as yours. But Body Slam is not going to do anything to them. And then they're going to outpace to the next move before I get to the Earth Power. So I'm going to have to try and like make a catch here if I can. Or yeah, I'm trying to burn the switch clock, and it's not going to work. I lost quite a few with this, and this is why I'm like still so undecided about Togetic. And it may come down to I did not have a lot of the good Pokemon that it did well against. And this is the problem when you do well against like 5 Pokemon and bad against 5 Pokemon. And in neutral matchups, you seem to be losing. Or just not doing as the pacing that you want to do. And this is why I'm like maybe negative on this Pokemon. But I'm not negative on it. But I'm not positive on it. So maybe it's like accurately ranked. But again, here's the pacing. You get outpaced to the Sparkling Aria. Dazzling Gleam does not take out. So now I'm just going to like chip and bail. Lapras is going to be a menace for most of this season. So I would start thinking about how you're going to beat it. More Pekko, fighters, stuff that was like dark, stuff that resists Psywave. Those are going to be the ones that kind of help there. Spiritomb comes back in, going to get off the Earth Power. They end up shielding, and I was like, can I get to move? Body Slam's double resisted and non-step, so it's going to be useless. Again, but here comes the pacing, and I'm just going to get taken out here because they have an energy advantage, so I'm going to have to try and sweep a Sableye. I forgot they had Rock Tomb. I forgot this one of the Pokemon has Rock Tomb. I would never leave a Pokemon alive that cannot take this out without Rock Tomb, like without resetting the attack lowering here. And they live. They live with like, and it's Wiggly is top left, but like, again, a neutral stab shadow foul play cannot take out from half health, which was an easy one shot before. So it's, again, yes, I'm aware that it comes faster, but man, it's going to take, I think some of these Pokemon is going to take a change of mindset. So this one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stand and go Psyshock first because I want to see how much this Psyshock damage does, and not enough. And so when I land this Dazzling Gleam, it's still not going to be enough. And this is the problem, right? Close. It's close, but they do get to a move here. So I think you need to... yeah, we can get to the how do you play this Pokemon. Togetic, this is a tough backline. And it's Credilli too. Okay. So I'll just spend the last couple minutes talking about how I think this Pokemon should be played and its strengths and weaknesses. I find its weakness. I find its weaknesses. I find it's gonna be somewhat RPS is my concern. Where you're gonna have a great time against darks and fighters and stuff like that, and you're gonna have a real bad time against poisons. And I mean, you have Psyshock, but realistically, you're gonna have a bad time against poisons and ice types and stuff like that. So the strength of a Pokemon, in my opinion, is how does it do in the neutral matchups? And what I'm finding in the neutral matchups is that it loses a lot, but closely. Right? So you saw the Lapras matchup. Even landing 2 moves, one Dazzling Gleam, one Psyshock, I lost. And they got to move on the next Pokemon too. Did they? I forget. Because what I'm finding is this Pokemon will always live one move. Maybe not super effective Ice Beam. I don't know if I want to take a super effective Ice Beam here, but it seems like it doesn't have the bulk to... It definitely doesn't have the bulk to live 2 moves, and sometimes 1 move plus fast moves may even be enough. So the bulk for being a 2000 stat proc Pokemon, low attack, higher defense, okay stamina Pokemon, I was a little disappointed with the amount of moves it could take. So I did take an Ice Beam there. Oh no, they threw Play Rough. I remember that. I was seeing like, okay, let's see how much an Ice Beam does, and they threw Play Rough there. And now Snarl's resisted. So again, you're gonna have good matchups against Pokemon that you should have good matchups against. You're gonna have bad matchups against bad Pokemon that Pokemon you're not supposed to have bad matchups against. It comes down to the even Pokemon. And I found that the bulkier Pokemon, or the Pokemon that just have better pacing than you, are going to beat you. And that's not what you want, right? You want Pokemon, in my opinion, that you're going to win, you're supposed to win, you're supposed to win, you're going to lose the one you're supposed to lose, but those mid-game ones, you potentially win more than you lose. And if you're not winning more than you're losing, you better keep it close. And this is why I'm so undecided about this Pokemon. I do think Togetic keeps a lot of those matchups close. I think that it'll lose a lot of the neutral matchups, but it will keep a lot of those neutral matchups close. I could sim it just to see what it says in those neutral matchups. Yeah. So 22 and 26 is its ranking. And that's not surprising, right? So you're losing to Ice, you're losing to Steel, you're losing to Electric. Dusclops, I was going to say, why are you losing Dusclops? Because it has Ice Punch. So yada yada yada. And then you're winning the ones you're supposed to win. You're killing your Guzzlords. And it says you actually beat Shadow for Alligator. So that's interesting. Because I'm guessing it's a bait though. Yes. It's a bait of Psyshock and then landing the Dazzling Gleam. And I bet you if you go straight Psyshock, let me just run the Sims here. I bet you if you go straight Psyshock, you lose. You do. But that's a nice beam land. Let me just see if it's just straight Hydros. You win with 3 HP going straight Psyshocks against. So it's very timing dependent against Shadow for Alligator. So that matchup I don't think is as real as the win as it's saying. But you're supposed to beat an Annihilate, Grass, Superior, great, Darks. Those are the ones you're supposed to win. So now it's all about the even ones. And the even ones are not in your favor. Dunsparce, Jellicent, Cresselia, Claydol, I guess it has Rock Tomb, Drifblim, Blastoise has Rollout to a certain extent. And then a lot of these other Lapras. These are all Pokemon that are beating you in the neutral matchups. And the win you have in neutral matchups is Grumpig, Wiggly. Drapion's kind of a weird one because it can only go Aqua Tail, Poison Sting. And then like Jumpluff. And then the rest of these you're supposed to win because they're fighters and darks. So yeah, this is why, again, what do you learn here? I don't know. You should learn that I don't know if I called it RPS. I don't know if RPS is the right wording for it. I guess it's balanced. I guess you're gonna have good matchups and bad matchups. I don't know. I wish I had a summary for you outside of just repeating the same stuff over and over again. It's good. I don't think it's as great as you would want it to be. I don't think it takes as much damage as I thought it would. The Dazzling Gleam and Psyshock are huge improvements that you can definitely chip with both. I would just go straight Dazzling Gleam if you could, but it seems like a lot of time you will need to go Dazzling Gleam or Beta Psyshock to win some of these matchups, and I don't love that. And then Sableye, it seems like honestly, for me, Dazzling Gleam, incredible on Sableye, compared to like Power Gem and Return and stuff like that, where it just takes so long to get to. So a move like Dazzling Gleam seems like a huge improvement with its buff. Foul Play seems like a huge nerf to me because it substantially changes how you play Sableye out. Both the shadow and the non-shadow. Those foul plays are just not doing what they need to do for this Pokemon, in my opinion. But it may get by based on its typing against the main meta here. That may be, again, resisting poison, beating ghosts, having Dazzling Game for other darks, stuff like that. So I think its coverage and type place in the meta gives it a bump, but I'm not liking foul play. So if you use any of these Pokemon, let me know your thoughts on them below. I should start asking that at the beginning. I need to start engaging people more at the beginning so they write, as opposed to like those who wait 23 minutes at the ending here, then decide to answer my questions that I ask at the ending. Not a very good YouTuber. Okay. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching Ferret this afternoon. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys in the next one.